Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Soundtrack of Your Life. You know what this is about now. This is the show where you can share stories about how music, so that's bands, albums, songs, soundtracks, theme tunes, whatever you'd like, has interspersed with people, moments, events, scenarios and all that in your life. Because we've all got stories to tell when it comes to that kind of thing. So this is the show where you can do just that. So my guest on this week's show is Tera-Sundri Kaur. And Tera-Sundri is someone who works with yoga, mindfulness, Vedic philosophies, in her role as a heart-centered relationship coach and Vedic counsellor. Now, when Tera-Sundri and I spoke about her being on the show, she mentioned that it'd be quite a unique insight into how music has played a part. And this hour's chat that you're going to enjoy now displays exactly that. We share some very heartfelt and life-changing stories that Tera-Sundri shares about just how music helped literally save her life, and have a lot of fun along the way trying to remember who Eric Clapton was and how the impact of songs like Bohemian Rhapsody has on the relationships in our lives. As with all guests on my show, is another really enjoyable chat. Tera-Sundri is a really bright and lively person, which you'll get to share and see and enjoy on the show. And if you want to be on the show, just check out the link on this description or page that you're on, and you can secure your slot on the show as well. You can also check out the links to Tera-Sundri's profiles and places where she's about on the internet to engage more with her. So without further ado, here's the show. Enjoy and feel supersonic. Hello, I hope you're all well. Welcome to this episode of Soundtrack of Your Life. You know what this is all about now. This is the show where you get to share stories about how music, so that's albums, songs, bands, soundtracks, whatever you'd like, has interspersed with moments, people, times, scenarios in your life. Because we've all got stories to share about that kind of thing, so this is the show where you can do just that. So my guest on this week's show is Tera-Sundri Kaur. So let me just get this right. She is someone that can help you with things like yoga, mindfulness, incorporating Vedic philosophies, and is a heart-centered relationship coach and Vedic counsellor. Now, this promises to be a unique session, as is with all my guests, but with Tera-Sundri in particular, because we've got some bits lined up and a unique perspective. So do you know what? Let me shut up and turn the mic to Tera-Sundri. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Particularly given that when I reached out to you, it was with, as you said, a different perspective to music and what we do with music. But yeah, it's exciting. And actually, it's really interesting. It was interesting when I heard you introduce me as a relationship coach, because that has taken a turn after the events that I'm going to talk about here today. Yeah. It's kind of given me a whole career shift, which is great. It's exciting. So, I guess I'll start with telling my story, huh?
Go for it.
Music, obviously, music's a frequency. It's a vibration, and that's why it has such a potent effect upon us all. And it shifts. It can bring up emotions. It can shift emotions. Music is just a emotion. Let me talk about emotion first. Emotions are just like they're actually the things, the enzymes and the hormones and everything that flow within us to make the emotion real. They're just a protein, right? They're a peptide, and therefore, if we don't process them, they get stuck.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why music. The vibration, the frequency of music can shift these things within our tissues. And that's why music is so powerful emotionally, from an emotional perspective. But from a completely different perspective with frequency and vibration, is that there's a thing called and I invite everyone who's listening to look this up when they're done, or maybe we'll even include a link to it. That would be better. A thing called it's a chart or a scale of measurement called the Hawking's scale of frequency. And what they've done, they've measured emotion and thought And they've measured it using a scale of frequency, the same as which they measure sound. So a frequency using hertz as the scale to measure with. And they're able to do that because everything, including thought and including emotion, has a frequency, it has a vibration. And so they've been able to measure it. And they've put together a whole chart. And so it shows frequencies such as the low frequencies are things like guilt and fear and what have you. And some of them are almost, well, obviously when we don't vibrate, when we have no frequency, we're dead. And some of them are not too far from dead, right? And then you come up the scale to love and gratitude and joy. And love and joy, they're above 500 hertz. So ideally, optimally, we want to be vibrating in that frequency, that high frequency. And from a yogic perspective, that's what we try to do. Yeah, when we get ourselves into that frequency, that's where we're in a state of self-healing. That's when the body can heal itself. And there's people like Joe Dispenza talk about those things as well. But it's the capacity for the body to heal, because we have an innate capacity. The body knows what it needs to do, and it has an incredible capacity to heal, right? But we need to raise the frequency above 500, and so much of how we live in today's world lowers our frequency. The foods we eat are low from a yogic perspective. They're low in prana, so they're low in life force, which is our frequency, our vibration, our energy. So our thought processes, we live in such a state of fear and a state of lack. Our cortisol levels are really high from stress. Our adrenaline and cortisol are high, and that suppresses our frequency. There's so many different aspects to it, yeah? And but the whole point is we need to raise the frequency. And in that frequency, when we're in that high frequency, we can not only heal, this is where we have total control over every area of our life. We're in the flow, and this is where the yogis you hear of who can regulate their thyroid function and their body temperature and their heart rate. Yeah, it's all from that frequency. It's our natural state of being. It's what we're actually designed to do, is to live in that frequency. So with that knowledge, I could go on for hours about it, but with that knowledge, here's what happened to me. I was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and it was a very rapid onset cancer. And I'm trained as a naturopath. I have training as a naturopath, a nutritionist, Ayurvedic therapist, but I didn't use any of that, because to me, as I sat with my yogic knowledge as a Kundalini yoga instructor, it didn't sit right with me, because even what we do with natural medicine still attacks the body. And I was like, and I was like, we are designed to create life, right? So the ultimate creation, we're creative beings, and the ultimate creation is to create life. We're designed to create life, and our bodies are designed to heal themselves. So attacking it, to me, was low vibrational. It was going against what we're actually designed to do. And so I just realized my vibration is low. My body's not healing itself. I need to raise my frequency. Now, I will say, at this stage, by the time I had diagnosis, someone had moved in to nurse me. Everyone thought they were saying their goodbyes to me, yeah? I was down to 40 kilos. I was just skin and bone. I describe myself as being grey in colour, but some of my friends have said, no, you were transparent. You had already started leaving your body. I was not I hadn't kept food down for over a month. I couldn't keep even liquids down. So I was not in a good state, right? And I went to see someone who has she's a bodywork therapist, but she has a table called a monocall in Germany. Now, I live in the tropics in far north Queensland in Australia. And so there's not too many of these things around. And a monocall is like a massage table that's made out of like ply, all the different layers of timber. And underneath it's strung like a harp.
Right.
So you play the strings, and all the different layers of timber resonate, and that vibration resonates through every cell of our body and every layer of our being. And from a Kundalini perspective, we believe we exist in 10 different bodies or 10 layers, right? Okay. Every heart of my existence was resonating with sound, with vibration, with frequency. And when I got off that table, after one treatment, I had color. I felt like I had energy. Instead of shuffling like an old woman, I was holding myself tall and strutting, and I thought, wow, okay, this is working. This is good. So I said to her, this is not negotiable. We're doing this every week. Anyways, we did that. Now I got home, and the woman who'd moved in to look after me had made some food, a dal, and I had a few mouthfuls and I could keep it down. So from there, instead of eating, I actually went, okay, well, I can keep food down. I need high vibrational stuff. So I lived on the juices of just red organic beetroot and red organic dragon fruit, which fortunately was in season at that time and grows where I live. And because they're high vibrational, and homemade bone broth. And I had a dear friend making fresh bone broth every 3 days, so it was high in prana, because after 3 days the prana is gone from our food, which is why our food travels so many kilometers just to get to us these days. It has no prana in it. So I did that, and after 12 weeks I was cancer free, and that was healing with vibration, but the vibration of love, the above 500 hertz. So I was healed with love. I was healed with the love of those around me, but I was healed with the vibration of love. And that is so powerful. And that was all I did. I did not do anything. There's nothing I haven't told you. I did not take herbal medicines or use Western medicine or anything. Yeah.
Literally just the board and giving yourself those high prana intakes.
I kept my frequency high. Yeah.
So just a question on the board itself. You mentioned there's strings underlying all the layers of wood. So the person who was running it, I guess, what made them? How do the strings actually work in terms of like vibration? Are they literally set to a particular hertz level, and it just the strings vibrate and that's it, or is it particular?
Because
it doesn't sound musical. It just sounds like like a almost scientific. You set this string to a frequency and let it vibrate, and that's it. There's no musical.
It's totally musical. It's set in a chord. It's one chord. It's this chord of C. She has it set in. That's why it's called a monochord. Right. It's actually a hit string, like a harp. Okay. But it's set in one chord, and she just intuits what she plays. There is no science to that. No science to how she plays. Interestingly, there is science now. So at Stanford University, they're using vibration to create heart tissue, to grow heart tissue, right? I mean, they're using so they're tuning into specifics. We don't need to, that's the human mind needing to control things and analyze things. We don't need to do that. We just need to raise our vibration above 500. The body can then do it itself. We have we have the capacity. We're phenomenal beings, and music helps us to get there. Music helps us to stay there in that vibration and to get there. And that's why, some musics can bring us down and some can lift us up. And it's all to do with not only the emotion stored in us, but vibration, vibrational frequency. So I'm a big fan of kirtan, which uses high vibrational and chant and mantra, high vibrational instruments such as the harmonium. And of course we all chant, and chanting the mantra, and we use that chant and vibration a lot in Kundalini yoga as well. But it's raising your vibration. You always feel on such a high afterwards, and that's because we have raised our vibration, and that's the power of music. It's phenomenal. So, I worked for many years doing a lot of body work myself, a lot of massage and healing work, and I always have mantra playing in the background. And a lot of the people don't know why, and they don't know how it's impacting them, but it is raising their vibration. So what we listen to has the power to heal.
That's really powerful. And actually, as you're talking about it, actually reminded me of, you mentioned Hawkins. I've seen it referred to as the map of consciousness, where, you've got your different levels mapped out at the frequencies in a kind of triangular pyramid-esque level. Yeah. And I believe courage is the middle level. It always says that, like, from here you either can, move up or move down, but that's your middle where you'll start, not at the bottom. You might find yourself at the bottom in your current vibrational frequency state, but courage is that middle where you go, right, here's where you can access the higher levels if you've got essentially the courage, the want to go there. And so, a lot of it sometimes is subconscious. We don't actively stand there going, right, am I feeling courageous for this kind of thing? But to your point about raising frequency, this is not just about emotions work and stuff like that. This can be impactful in your life in general. So it can be things like life decisions, life actions, where you are. But on that phrase, I wanted your take on this. When people say raising your frequency, like you've given tangible examples of a board that actually does that, and of high prana food, so physical intakes and sensations. Like, what in your experience also helps that? Someone, if you say to someone you need to raise your frequencies, how do people actually do that?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not a term I would actually tell someone ultimately is you need to raise the frequency, because that's meaningless to people. But yes, anything, everything we do raises or lowers frequency, right? So let's go back to what you said about courage, because what sits next to courage on the same frequency? Forgiveness. Yeah. If we can't forgive, not just others, but ourselves, if we can't fully forgive, we can never reach the higher states of frequency. So the way we choose to be, the way we think, the way we feel, the things we consume, the things we do, the energies we allow around us, that includes people with their energies and the situations we put ourselves in. Yeah. If we work in an office that's 50 stories up, so there's no grounding whatsoever, and you've got false lighting and false air and what have you, then that's lowering your frequency, and you're going to have to go out in the sun and get a lot of that prana and connect with the earth. And we call it grounding, but it's again, it's prana. It's a different prana. It's life force. So things that lower our life force, consuming packaged foods or just food that's not locally grown and fresh and in season, because it's low in prana. What else? I had another thought and it's gone from me. Naturopathically, we often give a lot of nutritional supplements, and nutritional supplements are great from a physiological perspective, but they're very low in prana, they're very low in vibration. Same with all Western medicines and pharmaceutical drugs and things, it's really considering the life force of things, the amount of life force within us, within our thoughts, within our actions, within the foods we consume. Yeah. So, I don't drink alcohol at all. But the only reason that I don't drink it at all is because I can feel it lowering my frequency. And it takes about 2 days for it to raise my frequency again. And I just think, well, that's silly, isn't it? Right? It's just silly. Why would I do all these other things to keep my frequency high and then do that? It's just madness. Right? It's all in the choices we make in every single aspect of our lives. I used to live in a steel framed house. Oh my Lord, my nervous system was so fragmented, and I never realized why until I moved out of the house. And then I connected, I got it, and I went, there is so much electricity flowing through this space, and it's fragmenting my nervous system, and it impacted my health. So every little, up here in the tropics, we love steel frame houses because termites can't eat them. But I will never live in one again. Timber all the way for me. So yeah, it's just interesting. Every little aspect of our world affects our vibrational frequency. And what's one of the easiest, simplest ways to raise it? Music. Because it's the whole frequency is within the air around us. It's within every cell in our body. It's around every cell in our body. It's affecting our emotions, our moods, our thoughts, and our physiological being.
Yeah.
And we have total control over what music we listen to. How awesome is that?
Well, that's partly the reason, I made this show, because they say, like, we probably rarely sit down to consider why we like a certain band, song, whatever it might be. but we've all got stories about them where it's not the story about even the technical aspects of the music, but it's like you intrinsically link what's going on in your space to a song, a band, or whatever. I give typical examples of things like your first dance song at a wedding. That's an intimate moment. It's something you lock in when it's going on, so that in the future when you hear it, you're like, that's our first dance song. And people will have that kind of story permeating through their life, whether it's the song or band that that kept playing everywhere when they went on holiday with their friends when they were younger, or the song that everybody clicked into when they were at college or university. So, but when we stop to think about the stories, we talk about the emotions involved. Whether it was joy, whether it was happiness, excitement, or even on the flip side, people talk about things like what is it called now? An ugly cry song. Even give it terms to say it's
not bubbly.
Exactly. It's these levels of emotions that because as you said, it's something about the song that it just permeates into you as soon as you hear it. You don't know necessarily what's going on, but your emotions, your physiology, as you said, changes straight away. I myself, a couple of nights ago went to see the Oasis documentary Supersonic in an IMAX cinema, and I've seen the documentary lots of times before, but the obviously in IMAX experience they try and heighten things like the visuals, bigger screen, sound, etc., etc. But even having seen the film multiple times and familiar with the songs, but just hearing them again just gave so many vibrational uplifts along. It could even be just someone talking, didn't even have to be the music, but just how they were talking, the tone, the spirit they was talking in, just literally made you feel 10 feet tall, as as is common for me when I listen to them. So you're absolutely right. Actually right, one of the simplest ways to raise our frequencies and what all of an experience of what all that brings, it's just music. So I'm fascinated by your answer about Kirtan, about for those not familiar, it's more kind of as you said, chanting based, very a lot of percussion involved and harmonium and actually just the voice itself, and when they all combine together, it is quite powerful.
Our voice is an instrument, and we have so many energy meridians in our body, which we know about because that's what acupuncture uses. But we also, in Kundalini yoga, we use vibration to activate those meridians. So how do we get that vibration into our body? We use our voice. Yeah. So we can actually use it to change our physiology and to activate different glands in the body and the nervous system. It's phenomenal, just through vibration, through singing, through mantra. And mantra connects us to, we use specific mantras, which like prayer, they connect us to the divine source, which is, of course, raising our vibration instantly as well. But whether we in Kirtan, we often discuss what they mean, but whether you know what they mean or not actually doesn't matter. You're still activating those energy meridians and still connecting to the divine source. So through all of that, you are raising your frequency. It's just fantastic. It's so simple. Hey, I want to ask you, you mentioned going to see the Oasis documentary. Did you see, I'm sure you did, but did you see Bohemian Rhapsody?
Oh, yes.
Phenomenal piece of work. Well, oh my gosh, I was not a huge fan of Queen, right? Never really got into them. Saw Bohemian Rhapsody on the big screen, and that changed my world, right? It changed my world.
Brilliant.
And I think, again, the bigness, as you say, the bigness and the rawness of it, yeah, because it's our situation, of course, can change the vibration as well. Yeah, and the way in which it's given and delivered and presented to us. And that just changed everything, for me in regards to Queen. I just love them.
I think, do you know what, it's moments like that, right? Actually, funny enough, they mention it in Supersonic towards the end, where Noel talks about the two big gigs they did at Nebworth Park. His documentary is like 4% of the population tried to apply for tickets, and it was the biggest shows at that time. And but he mentioned that like that was probably the last big gathering of people before the internet came along. You're talking 1996, and the internet was just starting to kick on. And he said that you still get those crowds and stuff coming in today. You can only look at people like Coldplay, Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran. They do amass loads of people. But they made a point that like you looked at the crowd, there's not one mobile device or phone in the air. Everybody's just there enjoying the moment.
Present.
Yeah, present. And you hark back to those words, and you're like, yeah, that experience itself has just changed. The thing with Bohemian Rhapsody is, yes, they turned into a massive band and scale, but it's literally the stories behind how these massive anthems came, like literally in that when they portrayed Brian May going, I want a song that the crowd can get into. And what did he start with? 3 simple beats.
And who doesn't get into that, right?
Right, and as soon as you hear it, you know what song it is.
Totally.
And that's simple vibrational stuff, isn't it? As it was a percussive element. Exactly, percussive and simple and beat laden and almost tribalistic.
Deaf people, yes, tribalists. And why do the tribes use that? Because of the resonance with ourselves, right? You deaf people play percussion because they can feel or double bass and things like that because of the depth of the vibration, right?
Yeah.
Just proving how deep that frequency travels through us, through our being.
It's something that we should share more, I think, because I think I think the way we consume music has changed through the advent of technology and the access even now. Like it's it used to be a kind of real personal experience. So like if you liked a certain song, wherever you heard it from, you had to go find where is it being sold in a tape or a CD, get enough money to go and
record.
Get it. Yeah, exactly. I have the appropriate player. No, honestly, it's true. We're not talking that long ago. Even in the late 90s or wherever, you still had to go find a CD player or tape player, and that was your means of getting the music. Nowadays, literally within seconds, everybody's on these things. They'll just go along and find the discography of a complete set, and
I do wonder how much listening to it through our phones and our computers and stuff, how much that really alters the frequency. I often wonder.
Good question. Good question. What do you think? Do you think it's just the music itself? Because obviously there's different frequencies you could hear it at in terms of how it's made. Whether it's forget the term now, but this high
432 hertz, and even having my harmonium tuned when I bought it, we had to choose the hertz level it was tuned in at.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, so there's that, but also your own expectation maybe of the music. So like at the moment you could have headphones on, you could have speakers on, but people have a Bluetooth speaker, a wired speaker, headphones, wireless headphones, and yes, it's a means to get it into you, but I hear a lot of people still say, with all this technology stuff going on, still the best way to consume music is a good old record player, a vinyl record player, because it's just such a unique, rich sound apparently. And you're right, even that can come through, because people I think are still, I think it ties back into the accessibility part of it, where like it's almost like a race to know new music. So things like before an album leaks, before an album is released, it's sometimes leaked, or like oh, I've got a snippet, I've got someone's got a dodgy phone recording at some gig where it's just terribly recorded, the quality's just not there through the medium, but people are quick to like, oh, I want to be the first one to hear it and stuff like that. So it's like, where's that all come from? you know.
Oh, I do. I mean, look, you have your traditionalists. There are people who just don't like to let go of the past, the memories and the feelings and what have you that are associated with it. So I often wonder how much of it is just being a traditionalist, emotion, memory, yeah. But because my memory of records was they were always scratchy, they always jumped, they were rubbish.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Um, but yeah, maybe the depth because the frequency, I do believe, and this is, I'm not saying this from any degree of expertise, but I do believe that most music is now recorded at a different frequency. So that will definitely alter how we perceive it.
Very true. Very true. So, we mentioned things like Kirtan before, and how it's used in Kundalini yoga, etc. Do you have any more examples of like certain genres or bands, or even more about the experiences you've had of music raising frequency in that manner? Because to be honest, just going back to your story was really profound. Of like no medicine, no other intake, literally just frequency work. That was
Total,
amazing.
look, it took total trust and belief
True,
in
for
what I
sure.
would do. Total
Yeah.
trust and belief. I had people trying to talk me out of it, and I actually told very few people what was going on with me because there's a negative frequency attached to cancer. So I didn't want people's negative frequency around me. And the few dear friends who had noticed I was unwell and had asked, some of them were trying to talk me into, at least getting some more doctors' opinions and what have you. And I said, no, look, I don't expect you to understand, but you need to honor and respect that for me, if the worst should happen and I should die, and I was quite ready for that, I said, I need to do it without regrets. And if I don't do it my way, I will have regrets. The what ifs, should have, could have, would have, yeah?
Sure.
So and they were able to understand that perspective and respect that for me. But from my perspective, because I've had many people since contact me, I've got cancer, I've been referred to you, can you, what do I do? And I realized the degree of trust and faith that it took, total faith, 100% faith, because I'm yet to find someone else who can embrace that faith. And that's the truth there. Everyone wants to do a little bit of everything. Yeah. Still want to dabble in Western medicine, still want to dabble in herbal medicine, still want to dabble in the vibration, what have you. The way I see it, the other medicines are, particularly Western medicine, is really lowering your vibration. So it's kind of counterproductive. But if you don't have faith, it probably doesn't work either. So, yeah. The degree of faith it took was phenomenal, but that wasn't the question you asked. Now, what was the question? Examples.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the really sort of famed ones are, Deva Premal and Mitten and Sacred Earth. They've kind of become, certainly in Australia, they're very highly recognized mantra singers, mantra musicians. But I will attach some of my lesser known Kundalini musicians, I guess, that I use through my yoga, through my classes. I'll attach those links so that our listeners can actually have a listen and follow. And, again, it will sometimes depend on the mood or on your need as to whether you want the male voice and the slower version, or the female voice, or the more ramped up version. Yeah, so there's so many versions of the same thing out there. So when it comes to mantra, and I think just going with what you feel is such a big part of it. That's, again, trust in your intuition that your body knows what it needs. So it will listen to the version that it needs at the time.
Really well said. What would you say to people, though, that say, okay, they may not be familiar with mantra music per se. They may have heard of the word, but they akin it to, well, isn't that just conjuring up images of like meditation? Sit there with your hands like that and just say Om, because people may be familiar with Om as like the the sound or frequency that's meant to generate, you know, peace and tranquility and stuff. And so, you know, what people say, well, don't I just do that? And is that really going to work, type thing?
Yeah, look, you do what you're called to do, really, with mantra. It's the singing of it. So there's the listening of it, and then there's the singing of it.
Right.
Now, when we choose to sing it, we're embodying it. We're embracing it at a level where we're creating vibration in all the different cavities in our body, and we're really embodying it. So you do gain more from singing. Whether you're sitting at kirtan or whether you're just singing along to what you're listening to in the car, you know, it doesn't matter. You're embodying it when you sing it. You're embodying that vibration. But listening to it is still very powerful, right? As we've discussed.
True.
So the whole embodiment of it, I think, is more important than worrying what the actual mantra is. But there are specific mantras for specific purposes. Yeah. And
Yes.
but Om is only one tiny little piece of a mantra. Yeah, it's not a whole mantra. A mantra's just a song. Yeah, if you just think of it as a song, it's just a song. Om's just one little word within the whole song.
Well,
so if you're feeling that Om is powerful, imagine what the whole song is like. In regards to potency and its impact on us. It's much more beautiful to sing an entire song than to repeat the one word. Yeah. So, but it's not, and that's what I'm saying, you don't have to be in yet. You don't have to go into meditation to do this. You know, kirtan is so fun because we all gather together in crowds and play instruments and dance and sing and, you know, you really raise the vibration of the whole room. But you can just listen to it in your car or listen to it in your home or listen to it, you know, when you go to sleep or sing along to it as you know, like say I used to do it to massage all the time. And yeah, so I'd be spending hours a day just listening to it. It's beautiful. Really raising that vibration.
Yeah, and I guess that points to the idea that, you know, again, people may be seeing or have experienced these examples where, you know, frequencies in music or certain music is used as a calming effect, you know, whether it's, as you said, in spas and that, they try and have calming music and stuff like that, or you know, so in the background, not something obvious, to, you know, help with the whole generating a tranquil atmosphere so that you can relax and this kind of thing. But I guess that, you know, that's just an example. But what I guess we're talking about here is that context and example of using music, using frequencies in that manner can help in just every day. And the fact that you said, no, when you sing it, you kind of, you know, that harks me back to a principle called you reflect what you project. So if you're resonating with that frequency, if whatever, you know, whether it's a song, whether it's an instrumental, a spiritual thing, whatever, and then you reflect it back, whether you sing along or whether you find yourself humming along or tapping your foot or whatever, that in itself, as we said, raises physiology, changes frequency, lifts your or tempers whatever you're feeling, and those are the ones that will stick with you. And
you're embodying it. Yeah.
And you find yourself, that's I think where we generate things like playlists and mixtapes and I'll put that song for, you know, this purpose or whatever. So
bring down and slow down, then lift up and excite. And we do the same thing in kirtan, by the way. You know, you actually have a design playlist and even throughout each song to calm and build it up and bring people in, and then to really lift the energy and lift the pace, and then slow it down again and quieten it down so that there's space between the sounds. Yeah. And it's the same, at an event, when you're doing music for an event. Or you mentioned a spa, like a spa. So, and here's the thing, people who really know what they're doing, it's not just about creating calm, It's actually about making sure it's music that people won't recognize. Some people play classic and really the well-known classical musicians or even pop music in day spas and stuff and massage places. It's like, that's so wrong to play those things because people can sing along to it. So they don't totally tune out and let go of their nervous systems. Yeah, their mind is still, because they know the tune. Yeah, so it needs to be music that 99% of your clientele are not going to recognize, and that's why you need to turn your music over to and not have the same playlist all the time. Because if someone comes to you every week and you're playing the same tunes every week, they're eventually going to start singing along to it in their head. And what's happening there? They've got a rhythm going, they've got a beat going. And for the ultimate healing for them, they need to actually let go of their nervous system. Even if they're here for something physical, they need to let go of the nervous system, complete relaxation, complete lack of control in order for them to get the ultimate healing. So there's so much goes into the preparation of music, right? And it's all because of the vibrational impact within us.
Yeah, again, really well put. I mean, as you're talking, you know, that reminds me of the idea that, you know, when you're looking to raise frequencies or have, you know, that kind of experience, you're talking things that go on in our subconscious. So anything where you're trying to, you know, ascertain the music or you recognize it, there's prefrontal activity going on in your conscious, because it's like, oh, I get this music, I know what this is, this is the bit that's coming up, and I really like that bit. So you got mind chatter going on. But for us to let go, to do all that kind of thing, it's like you need to try and switch that part off. And again, it's something that we probably readily do more often than we think we do. So where people, you know, talk about things like flow state or, you know, being at complete ease, they're the things that we can readily tap into. And it could be with in whatever context we ask to, like, you know, we want to get, say, a bit of work done, or you know, be creative with something. You're like, okay, so you use things like, okay, have no distractions, you maybe play some music that helps, but stuff that's not going to, you know, make you distracted, like, you know, singing along and switching that logic part on. But yeah, we're pretty much able to do that, but probably maybe not practicing it enough, because then, you know, it's funny, when we experience that kind of state, we want it back again. Oh, how do I get that flow state back again? Now, I actually asked I asked in a post recently, like, no, well, but do people know about flow state? How do you get into it? Because it all sounds great, because we get to accomplish things, we enjoy the experience of being in a state like that, and when it's broken, we're like, oh crap, I want that back.
Well, yeah, why does it feel good? Because it's actually our optimal state of being. It's what we're designed to live in all the time. Yeah. It's that high state of frequency. We call it a high. We're on a high, but that high is our natural state. We're meant to be in that. Yeah. And that's the beauty. We can get ourselves up there. It's just vibration. It's just frequency. So just do all the fun, cool vibrational stuff. Surround yourself with good vibrations. I'm picking up good vibrations. So much in that. So much in that.
So, like, you put it really well there again about, you know, it is as simple as raising your own. It's not anybody else that will do it for you. It would be whatever you tune into. So it's in the same way that you don't, you know, it's a funny phrase that I think you see nowadays. Like, when I ask people what kind of music are you into, they'll say, oh, I like a bit of everything. It's like, okay, you know, I'm not here to pinpoint music tastes or what have you, but it just, I always think with that answer, it's like, well, okay, so yes, you can have an eclectic taste, but I'm more talking about, like, those experiences that we're talking about. What gets you going? There's going to be some
what fires you up.
Yeah. You know, and say accessing those stories and pointers that, like, yeah, that was it. But it just seems like, I don't know, you just ask them, and like, yeah, I like a bit of everything, bit of this, bit of that. It's like, really, like, does that?
I mean, who doesn't? But yeah, exactly. There's certain things that.
Or, you know, I maybe I put it down to, okay, maybe people, there are some that are just not that into music, which is like, okay, you know, that's what your expressing, and you know, I'm not here to go, that's wrong, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. It's an interesting observation that I see of like, well, there's a chance here, you know, to because when you explore even those stories and those things, like, okay, what actually gets me going? You know, who which genre, which band, which song, you know, do I link? You know, even that process of looking and examining and stuff like that raises it. Not even the music itself, but the process of identifying itself raises it, and it's going to be your own, you know. And I think it's just another example of how it can be done. So in your space, like, do you have certain pieces or songs, genres, whatever you want to say, that link to certain levels of the map of consciousness for you, or certain emotions for you?
Yeah, definitely. Like yeah, you know, there's sometimes when you want to feel melancholy, or you know, and so I have certain tunes that take me there, and then other times when I want to be suddenly energized and pumped before going out to an event, or you know, my go-to, my daily mantra, like the mantras that I'll include in the links, they are generally my background music. They're
Right.
always going to keep the vibration high. But then you've got your more modern music, which is just the stuff I resort to definitely to get me in certain moods, you know. So yeah, for sure.
Well, can you give us like the last example of when you resonated with a song? Doesn't have to be a new song,
Oh,
but the last time, like, oh wow, that links to this emotional, had that profound
well,
frequency
okay,
shift.
so we mentioned Queen before. Yeah. And so that's when I need to connect with my daughter, who my daughter's 10, right?
Right.
And for the past 6 years, that has been our, you know, if she's sort of doing other stuff and focused elsewhere and I'm focused and I want to connect with her, I put that on. And as soon as she hears the beat, she looks up at me, her eyes sparkle, and we both start dancing to it. Yeah, she jumps up on the couch and she stomps her feet, and it's just like, yeah, it's so cute, it's so cool. And we connect at a heart level. Yeah, our
Yeah.
eyes are connected, our hearts are connected. It links us. So I actually use that with an intent to connect us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Then there's oh gosh, I can't think of its name. That's no good on this podcast, is it?
That's all good. I mean, it'll come to you. Well, whilst you're thinking of that, I think that is actually a great example of, you know, how we use what we connect with to try and connect to others. And now we don't do it with
Yeah.
everything that we resonate with all the time, but I think there's something to be said about when other people get what we get, it just feels amplified. Suddenly it just feels like, okay, you're not on
It is
your own on
amplified.
this. Yeah, but
The
what I mean
frequency
is
is
like,
amplified in the
yeah,
room.
that's true. That's true. As you said with Gid, that you all get into it and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
it suddenly
That's
gives you that
why going to a
message.
concert, I mean, nothing beats
Yeah,
music live. Even if
yeah,
it's in
yeah,
the
yeah,
daggiest corner part, like this shitty venue,
yeah.
still nothing beats live music because it's amplified, because everyone in the room is getting the same experience. It's amplified. Nothing
Yes,
beats that. Right?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, I've been fortunate to go to a few gigs recently, and that's exactly the thing you tune into. Just again, subconsciously, you're not there to go, right, I want to tune in now. It's like it would just happen. Like, you know, I went to see Liam Gallagher at the O2 last month, and before he'd even come on stage, so you got the support acts, and then when they go off, they set the stage up for the headliner, and in between they play a playlist in the background, right? And just the song after song that, you know, you heard, like, oh, that's a really cool song. A couple of songs that, oh, I never heard that, I want to check that out when I get home. But there are certain songs that, when, like Bohemian Rhapsody, that you just have to start with a riff or something, and then people will be like, "Hey!" And then that's it. Everyone knows it. Everyone's tuned
And then
in.
they all come together.
But honestly, they do.
Yeah.
And so Liam plays "I'm the Resurrection" by the Stone Roses before he comes out. and it just started with its drum like snare hit, and then people knew it, and people just sang along to the beat, sang along to the riff, and just sang, and it felt like a choir, like en masse, without any prompting. Everyone hummed the words, sang the words, and when the chorus came, it was just like, I recorded it on my phone, but it was just belted out.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so brilliant, and that's before the show had even started in earnest. But there's something like, as you said, you're all there for the same reason. You're not there like say, a sports match where half the room is against you physically and mentally and emotionally. But at a gig, you're all there for the same reason. To enjoy this shared experience, and it's like it's that acceptance and connection we get, that it's a core human need for us. We're not looking to validate ourselves through it, but it's such a validating experience, and when we find that, we're like, wow, I want to experience more of this.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's really funny because I have different, and we all do, different musicians who hold different memories of different eras of my life, and different countries that I've lived in, and so that in itself is really fascinating. I can go, I want to feel like I felt when I lived in that country, so I'll play a certain song from a specific.
Go on, can you give us a little can you give us a little world tour? Can you go round and go?
World tour. Okay, so there's an Australian band. Oh gosh, now see, I'm forgetting all these band names. Isn't that terrible? Oh my gosh, it's dreadful. Okay, let's start with London. So the girls I lived in London were mad Beatles fans. So Beatles reminds me of London. It doesn't actually matter what song it is.
Right.
If it's Beatles, it's London, right? And then this, the Whitlams, the Australian band, the Whitlams, they actually, I saw them 5 times in Canada. So they remind me of Canada. Yeah, they remind me of Canada. And then, of course, we've got Kirtan reminding me of both India and the Maldives. That's pretty much it to my memory of I can't think of bands that reminds me of other countries. But I know sometimes I go, I want that feeling, and or if I hear them, it takes me back straight away to those countries, those times, those eras in my life, which is, really cool. But the other one I was going to tell you about, whose name still escapes me, and I can see him, for goodness sakes. Sang Lola. Lola, got me on my knees, Lola. It's not actually that song that I was going to talk about, though.
Well, when you say Lola, I just think of the Kinks.
No.
No, I don't.
Different.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that's.
Better in a bar. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. Well, the song I'm thinking of is the one. I love that I keep singing on here. That all these people can listen to me sing. I know I'm not a singer.
No, that's the point of the show. It's like,
it's great. Isn't it?
You didn't consciously go, I'm going to sing this bit. Whatever. It came to you, and it's like, I'm just going to sing it.
Yeah. So the song that I often just go, you know what? It makes me feel so much beauty.
Okay.
Yet quite melancholy. And it's called Wonderful Tonight. And it's darling, you look wonderful tonight. That was the worst version I could have given. But
it's your version.
It's a very simple. The song is so simple. Everything about it is so simple and uncomplicated, and just filled with gratitude. And it brings tears to my eyes every single time I hear it.
Do you know why? Have you explored that further?
I no, I there's so much beauty and so much gratitude in it. I think for this gratitude for the simplistic things. The tune is simple. The instrumentation is simple. The words are simple. The delivery is simple. There's so much gratitude in the words. There's so much, yeah. It's just the gratitude and the beauty, I think, and it just makes me cry every time.
Brilliant.
So yeah, just to cry with joy and beauty and love. That's all. Not cry as in, oh my gosh, that's a sad song.
Yeah. No,
It's
that totally makes sense.
with beauty. Yeah. So sometimes I'll just go, I just need to hear it.
Yeah, and as you said, it's like when you hear it for the first time and it has that experience on you form that anchor. I talk a lot about the concept of anchoring from NLP. Like, right, that moment where I am right now, whatever's going on, links intrinsically to that song. So when something similar comes up, you default back to it. It might be the same song, might be the same experience, because I feel, you know, those those songs and tracks and albums, bands, etc., they let you experience that cathartic process. You talked before about letting go, and sometimes you need, you know, you talked about frequencies at a cellular level. You know, when you reach a certain frequency, the physical shaking or vibration of the cells lets you release trapped emotions, experiences, and lets you expunge them. It's a very cathartic, personal release process, I feel. And again, that's going to be different for everybody, you know.
Totally different for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I know part of it is just his voice for me.
Yes. Yeah.
And the way he uses it in that song, because of course our voice is an instrument. And however he uses it triggers some, movement within me. Movement, that emotional movement of those peptides. And it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Isn't music amazing? Aren't we so blessed to have all this potent, powerful energy that's delivered through music?
It's one of the most powerful experiences we'll have. But I don't think it's being shared enough in that regard. We all know its power. We all know
it's not being acknowledged. Yeah.
Acknowledged, and just the potential it has. Because we all of us tap into it at loads of points. But are we missing the shared experience of it all? Not to say that we should all like everything all the time with each other. Not like that. But, you know, I mentioned before that one of the points of this podcast, if there is a point, if you will, of just share stories. This is not here to change people's perspectives or anything like that. This is like, look, if you've got a story, that's exactly what this is about. You know, there's other similar shows, but this is for anybody to come on. If you'll have a story, you want to share it, this is exactly what it's about. I think that's the piece that, in amongst all this change of direction in music in terms of how it's consumed, produced, manufactured, we're missing that. I hark back to the ending of Supersonic, where Noel talked about, you know, what people forget is it's not the performers on the stage that are the big thing. You know, he goes, every member of Oasis, including me, were never the best at what we did. What made it big was the people there. And he goes, we can talk about how many people applied for tickets and all that. What if nobody turned up? He goes, so it's not the band that's powerful, it's the 250,000 that turned up. And he goes, there's that sheer force and energy and spirit and the fury and the rage of the crowd that attracts them to the band and it gets magnetic. And he goes, and that for me was what Oasis was about, for example. And it's like, that's what it is. It's that synergy. It's that, you know, and yes, live music is that raw experience. But even when you're just listening to a song on your device, that in itself is the same kind of experience.
Is it? Is it though? Because we don't have that togetherness. That it's just, I guess it is. It's just on such a smaller scale. It's not as magnified.
That's what I
Yeah.
meant. So what I say to that is live, you're there. There's no device on you. It's the band or artist, whomever. There's everybody around you, and that's the experience. But I think there's a lot to be said for when you pick a moment to just put some headphones on, whatever, and just experience music in that manner, because that helps you. I think you craft your own space for yourself to either process or experience or whatever. Whereas live, it's more like, okay, this is a shared experience, but there's something to be said for making it your own personal experience. Like many people I've heard say, if a new album, whatever is out, I'm not going to listen to that until I get my headphones on, because they want the richness that headphones might bring, for example.
Yes, yeah, and some people are very particular about their type of headphones because of that, right?
Yeah.
I've got to tell you something. It's a funny story, and it's about well, so many things you've just said here have triggered this story, this memory. It's a recent memory with me, which is, so you were talking about having an experience together and how we can share it with one another or with groups or with huge crowds, right? About the same thing. And I remembered years ago there was a movie made with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman when they were partners still, and there was a love scene, and they asked them, who do you like to make love to? And they were like, Chris Isaak. So they got Chris Isaak to write the music for this love scene, right?
All right.
And so recently I had a lover in my life, and I was like, oh, Chris Isaac's meant to, he wrote for love scenes and blah, blah, blah. And I do like Chris Isaak. Let's give it a go. So I put on, I'm getting very vulnerable here, put on Chris Isaak in the background. And Chris Isaak played and played and played and played. And I love Chris Isaak, right? Haven't listened to it for years though. It's going in the background. I was like, eventually I just went, oh my God, he is so depressing. How can anyone make love to this? The music is so depressing. It's got to go.
That's certainly not going to raise any temperatures
so ruining the mood. It was
I was going to
really
say.
ruining the mood. So it's very individual. And for me, I'm so used now to such high vibrational stuff that I was like, yeah, I needed high vibration for that mood. It was it's so funny. But we're all in different spaces.
On that, though, do you think it's because you felt a bit of expectation for you to see if that became a shared experience? Like, you knew what it meant to you. If you listen to it just now, you're like, yeah, that works for me. But when it's like there's someone else involved, do you feel like, oh, shit, I hope they get it as well? Do you know what I mean?
That's really interesting. I love how you've framed that, because I think you're right. I think you're very right.
Because
and
you're like,
no,
yeah, when you're in an experience where like, okay, I want to use this music to enhance our shared experience. I'm going to get into it because I myself have got into it before. But how you react, okay, at the same time, I'm not trying to control you, but I'm trying to control our shared experience. And again, this is all subliminal. Because as you said, totally. Even you found yourself going, even then you went, crap, I'm not resonating with this, and I know this stuff. but I know that if he went away, I'll get into it again, and he'll give another meaning. So it's like I know exactly what you mean. You're like, it's that. I think that's a big driver of when we make things like mixtapes or playlists for somebody else, because you've got that expectation you put on yourself to make sure that they get it in the same manner you do. Like, when you make a mixtape for someone you like, well, it's songs that, like, I'm trying to give you clues here, about how I feel and da-da-da. So it's like, I hope you get it. And to them, it's like, yeah, I know the song, I like it, but meh. And you're like, fuck, they don't get it the same way I do. Oh, damn it. You're right. It's both fascinating and perspective.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good story. That's a good one.
I know, it's funny, right?
It feels like agony in the moment. We're like, shit.
It was, yeah.
And then
Oh my
there's all
gosh,
sorts of
are we still listening to this? I can't do it anymore.
yeah. Honestly, yeah, like right, I've got to quickly regain this situation somehow. You know that oh, how do you do that? Can you? And do you know what? That's the bit that will play on your mind after. Like fuck. It was that moment. It was that song, and it's like it might even change that perspective on your song because now you got a new story related to that song or bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like oh yeah, that was the one where like didn't quite have the impact that I thought it might. But
Because
you're right.
everything's just our perspective and our stories, right?
It
So
really
you're
is.
right.
And I
Yeah.
think in the formative space or years that we have, we try and well, certainly for me, it was trying to find out who else gets this. I'm getting it, and I'm getting it on so many levels. I could have phrased that better, but in terms of like what I take from the music and what I'm feeling and sound like, does anyone else get this? And I didn't find too many people early on. It was like they were into some
It's
other
so
genres
funny. That's
completely.
wow. You really thought about that.
Well,
You
thought
went
about it in the
into
sense.
deep thought. I just thought everybody got it the same as I did.
No, do you know what? No, because it was just because I would say I developed my connection in that regard to music, in terms of the bands and music and genres I like now, pretty late-ish on, like in the mid to later part of my teens. Before then, it was like my household is like into classic Bollywood and instrumentals and stuff like that. And I resonated with it before the quality of the musicianship and the emotions behind the tracks and stuff like that. But in terms of things that, whoa, this genre of music, these bands, like, once I discovered Oasis, it just opened up a gateway to all these bands, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, Queen,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Verve,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Pistols, everything.
Oh my
And
God,
it's
yeah,
like,
all of them. Yeah,
yeah, and it's
great.
like, anyone else getting this? Anyone else? And it was no. It was like they're into the hip hop, the R&B, and it's like yeah. Well, I get that now. But then it really felt like you against everybody else. And it's like no, listen to this. This is better. You had that element of music snobbery now, and yeah, that took
Yeah,
a little while to untangle to go shit. I'm linking self-worth to music tastes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like okay,
Wow.
wow. Then I cut now, having worked on myself a bit and stuff like that.
Belonging. I
It's
suppose
like
it's belonging, isn't it? It's
that's
that
exactly
sense
it.
of
Yeah,
belonging.
yeah.
Yeah. And if you
Literally,
don't have, if no one else is getting it, then you don't have that belonging, and we all have a need for belonging, right?
spot on. That's it.
Mm. Wow.
And I think that harks back to what we were saying about when you find that shared experience, whether it's a concert, whether it's someone else that likes it and stuff like. It's something just naturally lifts out. You're like, yeah, I like that too. Whoa, you just feel it. You just feel more engaged. You feel like, oh wow, someone else gets this. And I'd say that music and sport have that unique ability in life where like you could know nothing about the other person at all, but you just mention one song or band or sport or team or whatever, and you're on a different level.
Well, so a lot of the brilliant musicians of the past have all become so because they haven't actually been great at connecting with others.
Yes,
And so they put their energy into their music. And isn't it interesting that the music then helped them to connect with millions?
absolutely. It's their outlet.
Yeah.
They've got, like all of us, they've got shit going on in their life, and some choose to express it explicitly, especially maybe nowadays where it's literally about what's going on in their own life, and yet people tune into that. But the ones I think that resonate through time have, I think, always spoken to universal truth. Again, the bands that I'm into and genres and stuff, a lot of them talk about the universal, and a lot of their material is expressed in that. It's like the meaning is very loose on purpose, but at the same time it's very literal to people. So it's not about a specific. They might have written it with a specific person in mind for them, but it's left to the listener to go. You can interpret whatever that means to you. So I think the bands that resonate.
It's just another art form.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the more we keep that going, the more I think we'll give ourselves access to those higher frequency levels.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's up to us, but we can, and that's the beauty, is we have the choice. We can do it.
Absolutely.
Purely through music.
Exactly. Tera-Sundri, we're just past the hour, and I like to say with every guest that I have on, it's like we could talk for ages about it, but I think we'll hold it there for now, and let's get you back on at some stage in the future. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure to share stories. Just before we go, do you want to just share with people where they can find you and what you're up to, so that if they want to connect more, they can do so?
Yeah, so good old social media. They can find me on Facebook, Tera-Sundri Kaur, and on Instagram as the Kundalini Woman. At the minute, I'm up to so many things, but really working mostly on doing some life coaching and health coaching, but more so my big focus is on, I'm actually working with practitioners in the health industries and teaching them how to heal with love.
Awesome.
And that's cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll drop the links to your profiles and places in the description of wherever this is. And for you guys watching and listening, thanks so much for joining us. And if you want to come on the show, just check out the link that I've put somewhere about securing your slot on the show. Let's get you on and share your stories as well. So we'll catch you all on the next episode of Soundtrack of Your Life. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Soundtrack of Your Life. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and share this episode around. Subscribe to the channel for further shows coming up. Comment with your thoughts below and use the sign up link to get yourself on the shows. I'd love to have you on. Feel supersonic.